Hey, so what's up YouTube? With the PS5 and the Xbox Series X now released, it's been a strange transition into next gen. Not least because of the COVID situation we're in and the way they were announced and the way the release is taking place. But I say that because it's a strange time where in previous generations that leap has been more defined and more obvious. I think from when we went to a CD to a DVD, or from a DVD to a Blu-ray, and the performance jumps in the previous generations may have been more evident. At the moment, you can still buy the latest AAA titles on both platforms, and fundamentally they are the same game. There isn't a game that has fundamentally been able to do more with next gen yet. They've just offered better visuals and better performance, and the sum of those parts adds up to a better experience. But fundamentally, you can still play the same game over 5 different platforms. You know, include PC in that. Now, PC gamers will of course say they've already had this next gen level of performance for a good while, and they've always had that at every point we've gone over to next gen. And the PS5, certainly, you see still when you go into games like Miles Morales, you have to make the choice between the high fidelity mode where you enable the lighting effects and ray tracing, or performance mode where you play it in 60 frames per second. You can't have the best of both worlds. PC gamers will remind you that they can have the best of both worlds, and they've had that. So looking at the differences between the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, they're both very similar in specs. There might be the small differences, but essentially the experience as a gamer, aside from the exclusive games that you can't play on one platform or the other, the experience of any given game for a gamer is going to be largely the same. There's nothing really to set them apart, apart from one thing. Now, here's where Sony does have a potential ace, and that's the DualSense controller. Have a look at this controller. So when Sony first announced this controller in their video a few months back, I was actually, I got to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed. The look and the color to me looked a little bit dull. On appearance, it appeared like they hadn't innovated with the controller, and I was disappointed to see more of the same, just with a different look. I was in the past a little bit envious of the Xbox Elite controllers, that premium feel that you got. There wasn't anything on the PlayStation quite at the same level of feel and that premium feel that the Xbox Elite controller gave. But however, when I got one of these in my hands, and more so when I actually finally got to play with it, I've been pleasantly surprised. It feels solid on your first feel. It's significantly heavier. It does feel heavier, and it feels more quality when you go back to holding your PS4 controller. I've got one here. This now feels cheap and plasticky. Well, it always felt a little bit cheap and plasticky, but it's even more so now. This now feels like what I really wanted from a controller. And look-wise, yeah, you might not like the white and black look, but I think with this setup that they've gone, I think these panels will be easily manufactured in different colors and designs for them, and in the future will be branded, and I'm sure different colored controllers will come out, and tie-ins with different games. I spoke about innovations with these controllers. What am I really talking about? So what Sony have done, they've previously in the DualShock controllers, they had Two motors in the joypads which spun to give you that rumble sensation, and they spun at different speeds to give you different sensations, and they've really amped that up with these controllers by updating their drivers and updating the motors in these to give you, I used the word fidelity before in visuals, but you can use it here in the fidelity of the feedback that you get from these controllers. Combine that with the haptic triggers. So what these triggers do is in certain games, depending on how the developer wants to use it, the tension in the trigger can increase or decrease. So for example, the best example is a bow and arrow. As you pull it tighter, the tension in the trigger gets increased. So how did this all add up to a better experience? Well, Astro's Playroom is a brilliant game to demonstrate the features of this controller, but it's a game where all of these features are amped up to 11. You know, it's very much a demo for what the controller can do. So how you can feel different surfaces, how different weapons feel, when something explodes and shatters, you feel each of those particles as tiny taps in the controller that are falling. So you feel the particles. You add that in with the sound that comes out of the controller, and you hear each of those particles falling from the controller itself. It starts to add up to the immersion. Now with Astro's Playroom, I mentioned it really amps it up. I think it has the opposite effect. It doesn't leave you immersed because you're so conscious of what's going on with the controller. And that's okay, because it's a demonstration of what the controller can do. And I think it will really come into its own when developers find that subtle balance of using the controller in a way which isn't intrusive. It doesn't make anyone want to switch it off. It doesn't make you think about the controller when you're playing. It's just something in the background that becomes natural and you don't think about it, but it adds to your immersion in the game. And I think it's important to find that right balance, because games like Call of Duty, if you amp up these triggers too much, you know, gamers are going to switch it off because it potentially could stop them having a competitive edge. So I think it needs to be tuned to a point where it gives you a competitive edge rather than taking it away. And by that I mean the controller should be an extension of your senses, so you feel and sense more of the game. It should make you more aware of your surroundings, the surfaces, or the situation of your gun or your bow, and it should let you react faster, not the other way around. And when it gets to that level, I think, to that balance, then I think this will be the best way to experience games. What they have updated is just the surface of the thumbstick is largely the same feel in your hand. It is slightly larger, but the thumbsticks are actually the same size. And you can see if I take one of these replacement thumbsticks from a PS4 controller, it fits on as normal on this controller as well. With my PS4 controllers, I did found the old thumbsticks would very quickly wear away and get damaged. So I hope that isn't the case here. It does feel slightly different, potentially more rugged. We'll see. Hoping I'm not going to need thumb covers on this one. The other thing that is new is the added mic on the controller, and I think that that helps for convenience factor. If you want to quickly have a conversation or sit down and play a game where you don't want to mic yourself up, then that's a nice addition also. I think Sony have done a really good job in giving developers the tools to go out and really enhance that experience for a given game, and it's up to developers now to find the right balance to do that. It could be a game changer. I think it's not a game changer just yet until the developers find that right balance, but I think something to look forward to. Thanks for watching. I hope that was informative. See you next time.